is going on? Welcome to this week's episode of the Second of Strength podcast. We are going to have some fun today, unless you love your smartphone. If you love your smartphone and spend way too much time on social media, this is not going to be as fun for you today. But hopefully it is. Hopefully this is a moment you'll keep listening. I think awareness is the key to growth. I've said that before. I say it a lot on social media because I think if we don't know where we are, how can we grow into where we want to get to, right? And I think that, as I go out, I speak in schools, and one of my biggest pet peeves is when I go speak in schools about helping teenagers reach their best life and overcome the challenges they're facing. And one of those challenges being the time and what they're doing on their phones and social media. And I look out in the audience and like 60% of the kids are just scrolling their phones. First of all, yeah, that is a problem, and it is a teenager problem, but it's also a parenting problem, also a school problem. And ultimately, I want kids to be their best selves. I want you to be your best self if you're not a teenager. And we all kind of have this problem because at the end of the day, smartphones, they're here to stay. Social media is here to stay. And so what has to change is our relationship with our smartphone and social media. And if we aren't willing to change our relationship with this device and our relationship with social media, then we're also accepting whatever comes our way. We are also accepting the fact that these social media companies are dictating how we spend our time, because what matters most to them is our time. What matters most to them is their profits. What matters most to them is the amount of money they make. And the amount of money they make is directly correlated with the amount of time that we as people, as teenagers, as adults spend on their apps. And so we have to be really cognizant of that. And if we want to grow into the people and accomplish the goals and the things that we want to accomplish in our life, then we have to ask ourselves, is social media standing between us and where we want to get to? Because what I believe is on the other side of your phone is this whole world of dreams, things that you can accomplish. The problem is that most people never actually see it because we're sitting and staring at our phones the whole time, and the phone is sitting right in front of us, and we're always looking down instead of looking up at the world of possibility that's out there. And so we have to pay attention to that and overcome it. And just a couple of statistics. So whether you look at Gallup research or you look at Pew Research, they do incredible, phenomenal research on teenagers and their smartphone usage. And what we're finding is that 46% of teenagers say that they are online almost constantly. And that number in 2023 at 46% has almost doubled since 2015. So we've gone from, as social media and as smartphones has increased and as more and more kids have these devices, we're just increasing the amount of time and the amount of consumption that we're having on these devices. So 46% of teenagers are online almost constantly. On average, teenagers are spending 4.8 hours a day on social media. 4.8 hours a day on social media. And 51% of teenagers are spending more or at least 4 hours a day on social media. That's a lot of time. And if you think about that, right? I don't know what the percentage is, but what percent is 4 hours a day of your day? It's a lot. And you're supposed to sleep, and you're supposed to go to school, and you're supposed to do all these other things. But the time where we're supposed to progress and become better and grow, we are watching other people's lives and paying attention to what other people are doing and watching other people's highlight reels instead of going out and building our own lives and doing what we want. More statistics. 17% are on TikTok almost constantly, 16% on YouTube almost constantly, Snapchat 14% almost constantly, 8% on Instagram. The numbers differ for girls and boys. More girls are on Instagram and spending more and more time there than boys. Boys are doing a lot of Discord, a lot of gaming, a lot of things like that. But again, our time and our energy and our effort is being consumed by social media, by these companies who want us to spend more and more time there. And I'll be the first to say there is a lot of good on social media. And if you fill your feed with good, then you can have a very pleasant time on social media. Now still have to manage the amount of time that we're spending on there, but you can have a good time. But if you fill your feed with things and the algorithm picks up on things that aren't as good, And it is going to feed you more and more and more of the things that it thinks you want to see. And if those things aren't as good, then you are going to be weighed down heavily by social media and by the time that you're spending there. And we have to just ask ourselves in our lives, and maybe teenagers don't have it all figured out yet, and they're not supposed to have it figured out because they're teenagers and they're at the beginning of their life. But you've got these goals. And even if it's like you want to make a sports team, or you want to be the lead on play, or you want to have better relationships with your friends, or if you're an adult and you want to, start a business, or you want to have a side hustle, or you want to advance in your career, or you just want to be the best parent you can be, you have to just ask yourself, can I do that if I'm spending this much time on my phone? And the answer, I just believe, is simply no, you can't. And what impacts how much time a teenager or anybody spends online is there's a lot of things that go into that, but it can be, it can be your upbringing, it can be where you come from, it can be, your social economic status. Like, there's a lot of things that play into that. But I believe that regardless of what that is, you are always in control of your life. You always have power to have control or take back control. I talk a lot about your 1 second of strength. In that 1 second, you have the power to overcome the grip that these devices are having on you, because they do have a grip. But I need you to know that they're designed that way. They are designed to do that because, again, the more time we spend there, the better off these companies are. And they're good with that. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. They don't care about our teenagers. They just want us to be on there more and more and more. And so that's why the devices, that's why the features are on there. That's why every app is designed in a way that is going to reward you for things that you do. Whether that's a game, it's going to reward you in a way that's going to make you want to keep playing. Or if it's social media and it rewards you with likes, it rewards you with, as you refresh your feed, you might get a like, you might get a comment, so you keep doing that. But all of this from psychology is it's releasing dopamine into the pleasure center of your brain. And every time that reward comes, it just feels good. That's what dopamine is. It's a chemical in your brain that makes you feel good. It's a reward. And so these companies are tapping into that, and they're playing you and they're playing me, and they don't care about us. And it's called classical conditioning. It comes from psychology, but essentially, if you've ever heard of Pavlov and his studies and what he did, but there's Pavlov's dog. And essentially what that means is that if a dog sees food, then he will salivate, because that's what dogs do, and that's what we do as humans when we see food. We salivate, right? Now, if a dog hears a bell, he's not going to salivate, because it's a bell and it has nothing to do with food, and they're not related things at all. However, if every time you feed your dog, you ring a bell, and you do that consistently over time, you are associating something new with something that is always there, something that he's always going to do. Now you can take the food away and you can ring the bell and the dog will salivate. And that's exactly what social media has done to us. They've made it so even if you see your phone, your brain triggers the reward so that you think you need to pick it up to check to see if you have a reward. Just the process of just seeing your phone. And that's why, there's some great companies like I use GoAro a lot. Aro is the brand, goaro.com. But you can put your phone in their device, in their box, and just step away from it. And the minute you step away from it, you just feel rewarded. You feel free. You feel like you're not attached to that thing anymore, because these phones are just sucking us in, and they're making us feel like we need to be there. And so, but again, every app, every feature on that app is designed to get your brain in that habit of triggering those rewards, the things that you think you need because it's there. And so, and that feeling, I know you do. If you have a smartphone, if your phone's sitting across the room, you're not, and you just see it, it's on your desk maybe. If you just see it, it triggers that in your brain and you automatically reach for it. You automatically pick it up because you feel the need to check your Instagram, to check your email, to check something to see if you got a reward. That's what it does. And it's conditioned us in a way to do that. So, and I just truly believe, one, we have to be aware of that. You have to know that. You have to know that. And once you know that, then you got to step in and take those steps to overcome it, because the best version of you is out there, but the best version of you is really hard to see if we're staring at our phone the whole time. It really is. We just can't see the possibilities of this life, the possibilities of what we can become if we are constantly staring through the lens of our phone. We just can't do it. And so a couple of things that we can do, just a few kind of quick hit checklist items that you can do to start right now and manage this situation and manage the things that are going on with your smartphone. So one, check your screen time. So pause this, or at the end of this episode, go into screen time on your phone and check your screen time and look at how much time you yourself are spending on different apps, social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or even games, or even Pinterest, or whatever it is. Check your screen time, see how much time you are spending on those apps, and it will shock you. Because I think as we go about our day, we don't realize how many times, or how conditioned, like Pavlov's dog, how conditioned we are to picking up our phone. You know, the studies show that Americans pick up their phone 144 times a day. 144 times a day. If you really ask me, of those 144 times a day, how many times is it something that I actually need to do on my phone? Maybe 20 of them, maybe 30 of them, right? Most of them are just picking it up because I'm conditioned to do so. But 144 times a day, that's a ton of times. And so check your screen time, pay attention. It will shock you, and hopefully it shocks you into action. I think sometimes we see things and we don't change. This is one of those changes that we have to make. Shock yourself into action, see what your screen time is, and see what it is. From there, you got to distance ourselves from our phone. If Pavlov's dog theory and classic conditioning shows that when we see our phone, we are taking action, or it is triggering that dopamine in our brain and making us take an involuntary action, then we can't see our phone. We have to get rid of it. We have to move it to another place. We have to put it out of sight, out of mind, or we will always have that struggle. So make it appealing. Put distance in between you and it. It does not have to be in your hand all the time. Your phone does not have to be in your hand all the time. Guess what? It doesn't even need to be in your pocket all the time. It just doesn't, because again, we are attached to them. It's become our fifth appendage where we just have to have it with us all the time, and we just don't. And so, but the conditioning would tell you that you do. And so distance yourself from it. Set screen time limits. Within screen time on your phones, you can set screen time limits. So on Instagram, you know, if you've been on there for, maybe you set it for an hour a day or whatever it is, at the end of that hour, it will trigger off. And then it's going to ask you and say, hey, do you want more time on this or do you not? I actually set my screen time on every single one of my social media apps. I set it for 1 minute because I want to, every time I pick up my phone, I want it to trigger and say, hey, do you really need this right now? Do you really need it or don't you really need it? And so I set my screen time at 1 minute just so it just triggers and makes me give it one extra thought, one extra beat before I dive into scrolling Instagram or whatever it may be. So set screen time limits. And then, you know, maybe one of the biggest and least talked about ways to break a habit, because this is a habit, and breaking, you know, studies would show that you actually can't break a habit. You really can't. You have to replace a habit. So replace that scrolling with something else. Replace it with something else is what you need to do. However, one of the things that isn't really talked about is talking with it about somebody else. Get an accountability partner against your smartphone usage. Talk to your spouse, talk to your parents, talk to your teenagers. You know, honestly, as a parent, if you were to say, hey, son, hey, daughter, I feel like I'm spending too much time on my screen. Can you please help help hold me accountable to that. Well, that shows, one, that you're modeling good behavior, and it's going to in turn make them think about their smartphone usage. And so, it can be two ways. It's a way to do that without saying, hey, teenager, you need to spend less time on it, although you can say that as a parent. But it is a way to signal to them that maybe I'm spending too much time and maybe you're spending too much time. So get an accountability partner, talk to him about it, talk to him about your goals, talk to him about what you want to accomplish, talk to him about it. And when you realize that you're spending too much time, or when they see that you're on your phone, have them call you out on it. Because that one moment of, oh, yep, you're right, I am spending too much time, is going to help release you from the grip and the grasp that it has on you. Because this is, again, all about awareness. It's about finding out why you are, recognizing how much time you are spending on this device, and then separating yourself from it and putting different tools, different tactics, different roadblocks in between you and it, so that you can release yourself from it, so you can find freedom. Because look, life is about freedom. And unfortunately, a lot of these smartphones and the social media companies, they're just trying to take away your freedom. And I don't like that. And you shouldn't like that either. So anyway, I hope this helps you today. Share this with someone. Look, I just think that this episode is as we think about smartphones, it's going to become more and more and more of an issue in our world, in our society, and unfortunately more and more of an issue in our homes. And we gotta overcome that. We have to overcome it as parents. We have to overcome it as, if you're not a parent, like just as a human being, we need to overcome it. If you're a teenager, we need to overcome it, because it's not going to get any easier. It's only going to get harder. So I hope this helps you. Share it with someone. If you haven't done so, please leave a rating and review for the show. Look, I have a goal of just getting as many ratings and review. I think I have like 25, something like that, 23, 25, which is just not enough. I would love to be at 100 so that we can get this out to more and more people, because I think that this message is critical for people's growth. So anyway, I hope it helps you, and I'll leave you the way I always leave you. Go find your 1 second of strength and be happy.